What's up everyone, and welcome on back for another video here on my channel. Thank you so much for joining me as always if you're one of my returning subscribers, and welcome to the channel if you are new. For those who do not know me, hello, my name is Monet. I am 29 years old, and here on this channel I am dedicated to sharing my financial journey, showing how I use the cash envelope system. I've shared how I've gotten myself out of debt, and now I am focusing on saving and investing and just continuously trying to grow my wealth and get my finances in order. So here on this channel I am documenting my entire journey. So if that is something that you are interested in, then please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and join the family. We would love to have you, and make sure that you hit the bell so that you are always notified whenever I upload my next video. So within today's video, you guys, we are bringing back an oldie but a goodie, and I am so excited to sit down and share with you guys. Today we are going to be doing a monthly reset and getting started with budgeting for the month of February. So typically what I like to do within these videos is share how I close out my budget for the month prior. So that's going to be for January, and then we are going to set up our budget for February. And how I like to showcase my monthly reset budget is that I go in on my budget template, and together we follow along to see how I am going to manage my money. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in seeing, then of course just keep on watching. All right, so here we are back with my budget template. For those who are unfamiliar, I do create this template myself. So if you are interested and enjoy what you see, the links for all of that will be down below. Typically on my channel, I've been sharing my monthly budget, but since I've updated and rolled out my new budget by paycheck template, that is what I'm going to use today just to show you guys how I use it. So looking at the template, we see that I have filled in January, which I'm so sorry for. I did want to come in here and budget for January, but as we know, I got very ill at the start of the year, so I was not able to upload that video. What I do at the beginning of the month is that this budget column, that is what I typically share and fill out with the start of the monthly reset. And then these actual columns, they have been filled in as the month progressed. So if you have been watching my channel for the month and I've shared my cash envelope stuffings and how I budget my paychecks, over here on this paycheck tab is where we can see how I allocated both of my checks. So I get paid bi-weekly. So this was my first paycheck for January, how I budgeted and where I wanted things to be allocated. And then over here is my second paycheck for January and how I budgeted and how they actually came out. So what this monthly template does is once you go back to January, they just add up all of your paychecks and they roll to a total on your monthly tab. If you do want a detailed, more explained version of the templates, I do have tutorials for both of them on my channel, so be sure to check those out if you want a little bit more clarity. Here I just want to try and go through my numbers and share it with you guys. So starting with our income for January, I just wanted to solely focus on my full-time job. If you are unaware, I did just recently acquire this job, so still kind of in the works of what my actual monthly income is going to be, because I'm still flexing some things out. And so for the month of January, I was really budgeting on the low end. So we see that overall I was budgeting $4,800, but what actually came in from my paychecks was $5,056. So here we see it was a positive difference of an additional $256. Then going ahead and looking at my bill section, first up we have rent, and I like to save up my rent for the month that I'm in for next month. So these two paychecks that I acquired in January were funding my rent that I'm going to pay on February 1st. So that's why I have that date here for rent. And then for budgeted, I thought it would be $2,142 for my rent, but actually was $2,110, so a slight difference, which is great. Following that, I have my regular bills. So my internet, I budgeted $56. That's a fixed expense, so $56 is what I paid. My utilities, this is another thing that I pay on the first with my rent. I budgeted $50 and actually came in with $52, so that's also in line. And then lastly for my bills is electricity. I budgeted $200 and actually had to pay $114. So in terms of my bills for myself, that is all I do. I know my bills are light, which I'm thankful for, but I strategically make it like that, and I was able to get myself out of debt. So that's also another huge help. Rolling over here is where we have my expenses. So this is my variable spending and basically everything else that's not a bill, but things that I do have to take care of monthly. So first up is gas. I budgeted $60 and actually paid $60. Same for spending, budgeted $100 and gave myself $100. Groceries was $300, gave myself $300. Actually looking at all of my variable expenses, exactly what I budgeted is what I gave myself, so that's good. And then here within expenses is where I put my tithe. I do 10% of whatever I bring in. So I had budgeted $480 going to my tithe, but since my income was a little bit more than I expected, actually $506 went towards tithe there. Then we can roll over and get into my savings. Again, for my sinking funds, everything that I budgeted for the most part, that is what I actualized and gave. The only thing that got slightly less was my car insurance. My main focus was my emergency fund. As we all know, I'm trying to work towards my 6-month fund, so I'm hoping to complete that as soon as possible. I budgeted to give myself $347, but I was actually able to give $705. And then over here within investments, I have my Roth IRA. Budgeted $300 and I was able to give myself the $300. And the last section that we have over here is my debt, but as we know, that is blank. So overall, that is how I decided to allocate my total income for the month of January. And if we go down here and look at the income summary, we can see the total overall and how that panned out. Income summary, we already touched upon income, so we can look now at the bills. So overall for bills, I actualized at $2,332 against my budget of $2,448. In terms of expenses, this was slightly higher, as we said, for tithe. So I actualized at $1,126 versus the $1,100. So an additional $26 went there. Savings, $1,298 actualized there against the $952 that I budgeted. And then lastly is my investments. Budgeted $300, actualized $300. So there's no difference there. But overall, I was able to get to a zero left over, and that is personally how I like to budget, giving every dollar a job. So if we scroll to the top, I have these pie charts, which I also like to look at just to see budgeted versus actual. So overall for bills, that rolled up to a total of about 46% of my income against the 51% that I budgeted. Expenses was 22.3% versus the 23% I budgeted. Savings got a good increase, so about 26% versus the 20 that I budgeted. And then investments 6%, which is in line with the 6% that I also budgeted at the beginning of the month. Here's my savings breakdown pie chart. So this just gives me an idea overall for everything that sits here within this savings section of what is getting the most. I always have one savings that I'm focusing on, so I like to see that majority of my savings went towards that fund to make sure I am on track. Emergency fund, so no surprise that it got over 50% allocated towards that, and then the rest are made up with my other sinking funds. So that is the nice overall breakdown for the month of January. If we scroll down to my expense tracker, this shows for my variable expenses what I spent for the month. So if we total up everything from this column, it was $704 across my variable expenses that I did for the month. So if we check off gas, I went and got gas 3 times this month. That was a total of $65, and that equates to about 9% of my spending. After that is spending, that was a total of $120 for the month, and that was about 17%. Groceries is the biggest. Not a shocker. I did do a big grocery shop so that I can meal prep and everything for the month. So that was a total of $313, and that's about 45% of my spending. Toiletries came in at $148, and that's 21%. I did get a little bit of clothing off of Amazon. That was $30, so that's about 4%. And then the last one is eating out, total of $28, and that was 4% as well. So the main thing I like to look at over here is this expense remaining check-in and looking at what's left to spend, excluding my tithe, but totaling up all of these categories. It basically lets me know how much money I have left in those categories moving into the next month. And depending on how long I have to get paid again entering the new month, it lets me know how I'm sitting with my current funds. So looking at this, I'm not upset with it. It looks pretty good. Everything is in line, and that will give us a nice wrap for the month of January. So the last thing I like to come in and do is going to my savings tracker and notating anything that I use within my sinking funds so that then this total lines up accurately. So if we go over here and look at my savings withdrawal tracker, I'm just gonna go ahead and key in all of the spending that I did from my sinking funds this month. All right, so here we go. These are all of the spending that I did within my sinking funds for the month. I bought some home decor out of household. That was $100. I booked a flight to go back to New Jersey, took that out of travel. That was $300. Out of my annual payments, I paid for my Netflix and my Apple Music. So that was a total of $230 for those guys. And then I did get a car repair out of car maintenance, and that was $80. So now that all of those withdrawals have been notated, I get a true roll up of my savings and where I am currently sitting. And I realize I haven't put in my goals for my savings. So looking at my emergency fund, we all know I'm working towards $18,000 within there. And then my home fund, I'm trying to at least have $5,000 within there. This number rolls up to let me know how much I have to save to achieve these two goals. So I just like to put that there as well. But overall, for closing out my budget, seeing how I did, that is how we will wrap up for January. Looks pretty good for me. And now we can go ahead and set up for February. Right, so here we are with a fresh new month for February. Looking overall for the month, you see I already have my categories inputted. So all we have to do is go ahead and fill out our budget. So we're gonna go ahead and click into the February paychecks. So looking at my first paycheck for February, I'm gonna get my first paycheck on February 6th. So I wanna make sure that what I'm budgeting is covering from the 6th, and then I won't get paid again until the 20th. So I'm gonna need these funds to support me until February 19th. And then this is also a time where I like to pop down and look at my calendar view just to make sure I'm covering for the correct bills for when they're due. As we see, I notated that my paycheck 1 and paycheck 2 from my full-time are the 6th and the 20th. I'm also gonna include my side income, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring that back. And I typically like to pay myself out for my side income on the middle of the month, so I just put that in for the 15th. And then down here are my bills, and I like to look at this calendar because it's telling me if I'm trying to cover all of the bills from February 6th until February 19th, then that means my internet will have to be on my paycheck 1. And then if I'm looking at paycheck 2, that will cover all of the bills from the 20th, and then it will flow into the next month as well. So that will be leading into March 5th. So I want to make sure that my electricity bill that's due on the 23rd will get paid with my paycheck number 2. So hopefully that makes sense. But let's go ahead and fill this out working with paycheck number 1. So for my full-time job, I'm budgeting that it's going to be $2,533 that I will receive for my paycheck. Things still might be fluctuating because I'm still trying to finalize my actual number for my HSA. So it might be more, it might be less, but as of right now, I think that's a good gauge to budget. So then we can go ahead and get into my bills. The interesting thing this month is going to be rent. And this kind of comes with a story. So let me see if I can go ahead and explain that. So when it comes to my rent, I moved into my apartment in December, and when I signed the lease, they were running a special where I can get 10 weeks free. The first 4 weeks of that special were given to me for the month of January, and you guys didn't see that because I wasn't back on my routine with YouTube, but I didn't have to pay for January's rent. So then we move into February, and they didn't want to count February into the weeks that are free because February is a short month. So they said I would have to pay for February, and then moving into March, I would get March free. So that will get me to a total of 8 weeks free. And then half of April, I get free. So those last 2 weeks of April, and that will roll up to the 10 weeks. So that is why for January, you saw me put aside money for rent that I'm gonna have to pay for February 1st. But when it comes to my February paychecks and having to pay for March rent, I do not have any. So I don't have to budget to pay for rent this month. And then next month when I budget, I'm only gonna have to pay for a half of my rent. And then once April is done, then I'm back to just paying my rent on normal. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys, but that is going to explain why I am not budgeting for rent this month, and we are throwing as much as we can into savings. So this is going to be a heavily savings focused month to capitalize on this benefit that I'm getting for not having to pay my rent. All right, so with all of that explained, let's go back into the template. So for rent, we're going to put 0. And then the only other bill that I'm gonna have to pay for this pay cycle is my internet. So that's going to be $56. So then we can move on to my expenses. Gas, I'm going to budget $30. Spending $50, groceries $150, toiletries $30, clothing $20, eating out $30, and then tithe is going to be $253. So now we can move on down to our savings. And the first thing that we have here are sinking funds. So my annual payment, this paycheck will get $25, budgeting $20 for car maintenance, $75 for car insurance, $25 for Christmas, $20 for gifts, $40 for household. We're not putting anything in medical. Travel is getting $100, and emergency fund, I'm budgeting $800 that I can put in there. And then I'm also going to try to start building my home fund, because if everything flows out correctly, by the end of this month, I will completely finish my emergency fund. So then I can get started with refunding my home fund. So that's going to get $149 from this paycheck. Then over here is the section for investments. Right now I just have my Roth IRA, and I'm also trying to capitalize on this and give me a good bump because I am trying to max it out for this year. So that's going to be $660 I want to allocate towards that. And down here is debt. If you had anything, you will put that there. But if we are solely looking at this paycheck, we see that I was able to get it down to 0. So every dollar has been allocated. And then here is a pie chart to show what percent of your money went where. And as we can see, heavily swayed towards savings with about 50%, and then everything else is broken up there. So now we can move on to paycheck 2, do the same thing. As I said, this is going to support February 20th up until March 5th. So those are our start dates notated there. Gonna notate this for full time, and we're going to budget the same again. Normally I get the same paycheck, so gonna anticipate the same amount for paycheck 1. So once again, rent is going to get skipped this month. In terms of utilities, I'm gonna put $60. Last time when I got free rent in January, I did not have to pay for my utilities, but that was because I didn't have a full month. So I don't think utilities are gonna be disregarded. So just in case, I do wanna budget for that. And my utilities consist of our trash service, water, sewer, and the amenity fees. So I'm just gonna throw $60 in there just in case. And if I don't have to end up paying it, that's great. For electricity, I'm still gonna budget on the high end and put $200, even though last month it wasn't that much, just because I'm still unsure on how things really are. And we have had quite a little bit of a cold front. So I have been running my heater, and of course that's going to charge for some electricity. Getting over here to our expenses, gas, I'm going to budget $30, $50 for spending, $150. I normally like to keep these variable expenses the same each time I get paid, if you can see, so it's not going to be too much of a difference within here. So then we can move on down to my sinking funds and savings. Again, similar story. They're really not changing too much. I kind of like to keep them in line and the same thing each time. So for emergency fund, we're able to put a little bit more here. So it'll be $795. And then my home fund, hoping to put $150 from this paycheck. And then for my Roth IRA, hoping to put $465 to budget within there. So looking up at paycheck number 2, every dollar has been accounted for. And then this is the pie chart breakdown of how I divvied that out. Getting over here to paycheck 3, this is just where I'm gonna throw in my side income. And for those who aren't aware, my side income consists of whatever I earn on social media, what I make on YouTube, and what I sell within my shop. So when it comes to my side income, I've gotten to the point where I can be a month ahead, and I like that budgeting style better because side income for myself is very variable. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. So I've gotten it to the point where in February, I am able to budget off of the income that I know I have already earned within January. So I don't have to estimate, and I know exactly how much I can work with. And when it comes to my side income, this number that I put in, this is after taxes, after I put money back into the business, and I also tithe on my side income as well. So all of those things have already been deducted. So this can be my true paycheck that I can put exactly where I want. And I'm just so thankful, you guys. Thank you so much. January was a really great month for myself and a nice entrance to come back, and mainly driven by my template. So I know that this number isn't always going to be this high, and the templates were just new. So that's really what drove it. But either way, I just want to say thank you so much for all of you guys who support in any way. Earning any additional income on the side is not something I ever thought that I could do. I'm just very grateful and thankful for you guys' support. So thank you so much to anyone who is even watching this video, liking, sharing. It all helps. So thank you all so much. So with that in mind, for this month, I was able to have $1,176 that I could allocate for my side income. And when it comes to these funds, I really want to use it to fund whatever savings focus I am currently working on, or any side projects or things that I would like to do. So if we scroll down here, we see that I have my savings, because these are the two things I'm really gonna put this paycheck towards. So here we see I have my home fund, and I'm gonna put $676. And then here we see I have a trip fund. So this is a trip that I can share with you guys, because my last trip was a secret and a surprise. But this trip is one that I am so excited for. It's saving for a trip that's going to happen in 2027, and it is going to two of my dream destinations that I just never thought that I could be able to do. And the best thing is that this is a trip that I'm going to do with my mom, and we've never gone out of the country together. So I'm so excited, and it's around her birthday that we're going. So I'm just truly looking forward to that trip. We're planning to go to London and then Italy, Rome. It's like a cruise that takes us to Italy and Rome, but then we're also going to London, because that's one of my dream places that I wanted to visit. If you watch my channel like 5 years ago when I did a Q&A, I said that London was my all-time dream destination, and I just never thought I could go. So I'm super excited to start saving for this. It is going to be a hefty spending trip, so I want to go ahead and save up for it now where I can. So I want to put $500 from this paycheck to start funding for that. So after I allocate that $500, that is everything for that paycheck, and that is all of the money that I'm anticipating to bring in for February. So if we click on back to our February monthly tab, we see we get an overall total for everything that we just budgeted out. So for income across both of these guys, I see that I am budgeting to bring in $6,242. Here are the breakdowns of everything that we just divvied out from a total perspective. So we see that they all populated to the front. If we look at the income summary, it'll show us a total breakdown. So for bills, it's so crazy to see. So bills were totaling a budgeted anticipation of $316. For expenses, we're totaling $1,126, savings at $3,675, and investments at $1,125. So looking at the pie chart, it looks incredibly insane, but we see that savings is our biggest chunk, with about 59% of my income going there. Investments is next with 18%, and also expenses is also 18%, and bills are sitting with 5%. Now that would be lovely if that can look like that every month, but we will take the win where we can. The last thing that I like to do is to set up my expense tracker so that once I start spending, all of these deductions are correct. So the only thing that I need to put in is my rollover balance, and I will just pop back in to January and how I ended these categories for the month prior. I'm just gonna copy that and paste that into here. And we see that I am now sitting with accurate totals. So gas at 80, spending 120, groceries 97, toiletries $7, clothing 75, and eating out 42. So that all looks good. And now I am ready to enter February with a plan and how to spend my money. All right, you guys, so that is how I am going to wrap it up. I feel like this might have been a little bit of a lengthier video, but hopefully you all enjoyed and you were able to get some insight on how I use my template when I budget by paycheck. Definitely let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know what your goals are for February, what's going on with you, how we are trucking so far. We're 1 month into this new year, so this is the time where things start to fall off. So I'm hoping we are all staying strong and we can support each other through the entirety of this year to do great things. But I just want to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you as always for supporting. Hit the thumbs up video to let me know that you enjoy. Leave some comments, share it with those that you think will enjoy. And with all that, I will see you all next time within my next video. Bye guys.